Americanisms I picked up since moving to the USA. Interested to see what we got with this one. Before we do get into this, I appreciate if you guys can hit that subscribe button. Let's jump straight to this to see what we got.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Distant Words with me, Lawrence Brown. So, living in America for the last 10 years, a question I often get asked is, have you started to adopt any kind of Americanisms over the time that you've been living here? And in the past, I have covered in a video some of the words that I've picked up and maintained throughout, and I'll be talking about some of those today. But there are other aspects, of course, of American English that you can adopt, such as spelling or pronunciation, things of that nature, and just other quirks in general. So that's what this...
You know what? I'm actually surprised that his accent hasn't changed even more after 10 years of living in America. Like, sure, like, I think your accent would change quite a bit, right?
This video really is all about. It's those Americanisms I picked up during the 10 years that I've lived here. So without further ado, let's get underway.
Let's see. Words.
So I have done a more comprehensive video on some of the American English words that have stayed with me during my 10 years here, or at least that I've accumulated over the time. But there are some others that I've thought about, so I thought I'd just add them to this particular video and we'll go from there. So when I first moved to the United States, it became apparent to me early on that, ironically, the word acclimatize is not in such wide use here in America. You will find usages of it.
Yo, do people even use that in the UK? Acclimatize? What does that mean?
But it's more likely that you're going to bump into the word acclimate. And I soon became acclimated to that very word myself. And I think nowadays I find myself using it more often in conversation than I would acclimatize. Possibly.
Yeah, I don't know what either word means. I ain't gonna lie, bro, but I'm dumb. So...
because it was one of the first Americanisms that I noted after moving here, so I wanted to make sure that I was saying the correct thing to be understood. So that was one of those that stuck with me. Another one, and you'll find that a lot of these words are to do with practical everyday usage, but the word gas, gasoline, which, as I've pointed out in a previous Distant Words video, was originally coined in Britain, but it stopped being used there in favour of petrol, and is the predominant usage here. You go to the gas station to get gas, or to pass it, in my case. That could be dangerous, mixing methane with... Never mind.
Yo, why are you doing it? Petrol gas stations, bro.
It became a sort of everyday phrase, you know, when we lived in Indiana and we had a car. You know, should we get gas? Let's go to the gas station and fill up. So after a while, it sort of stuck with me. And similarly with the word trash, it's a routine everyday activity to take out the trash if you're being diligent about it.
You know what? I like to say... I don't say it all the time, but sometimes I will say trash, right? I really prefer the word trash over to rubbish. Because I'd be like, oh, I'm going to take the rubbish out. I'd rather say trash, bro. I like the word trash.
Let's not get into that. And so because it just becomes part of the everyday conversation,
of course.
You know, and you have to end up saying. Early on, of course, I think I would, you know, opt for rubbish, as it were. But over time, you do start adopting some of the everyday terms that Americans might use. I don't know if it's to avoid confusion or anything like that, or if it's just sort of after hearing it repetitively from other people, you do take it on, and it's almost unavoidable. Not that I wish to avoid it. I have no plans to avoid adopting American English, but
yo, I wonder if any of you guys, please comment down below if it's happened. I wonder if any of you guys have actually caught on to any of the words I say in these videos a lot, and you've actually found yourself saying them. If you have, comment down below. It would be so interesting to see like what words and stuff.
Occasionally, it is going to happen that you do adopt these American terms because it's your new life. You know, it is the new language, the lingua franca with which you've become familiar. And that's true of other everyday activities like going to the bank. You know, I say checking account now instead of current account. Liquor store instead of off license. You know, not to suggest that I drink alcohol every day. Don't get that impression, although I rather give you that impression.
I like liquor store more than off license. I'd do that.
And, you know, filming every day here in my apartment. It's becoming a rare occurrence that I would actually say flat these days.
I don't say flat. I say apartment.
I live every day, and it is a word that emanates from my mouth rather often.
That actually blows my mind, though, because I'm pretty sure in the UK, a lot of people say apartment now. I will always say to people like, oh, my last apartment, because I did used to live in an apartment. So I'd be like, oh, my last apartment. I'd never say flat. Interesting.
Back to my apartment, or do you want to stay in the apartment tonight and get a Chinese takeaway? You know, that's the same.
Yes,
across
food.
the board. Not in terms of the content of the food. That's another video for another time. But in the meantime, let's move on to how we're actually saying the words.
Okay.
Because that is a whole different ball game.
Let's see. Pronunciation.
So during the process of putting together the list for this video, I realized that I pronounced the word process as process. And I think that when I lived in the United Kingdom, I would have been far more likely to, and in fact I did, pronounce it process. Yeah. And that does tend to be the predominant pronunciation of it back in Britain.
I didn't realize in America you say process. Process. I want to process that.
Though, you know, there could be exceptions to where people do say process and vice versa, where people in the United States say process, but the predominant
this is confusing me.
of that particular word is process.
Okay, I forgot which way do I say it, process or process? I've actually forgot. Yo, I swear these videos mess up my mind, bro. I'm walking out of this room saying different words that I said before.
And so the thing is, in the workplace in the United States, process is a word that comes up quite a lot because you talk about processes that you have to adhere to. And so I hear all of my work colleagues saying it that way, and I've, over time, adopted it. Especially when I have to speak to clients over webinars and things of that nature. You just start picking up that particular way of speaking. A lot of the words on this list came my way, I think, because of the workplace and because of the sharing of these particular sounds.
Right.
Presentation is another one. Presentation would have been my sort of go-to back in England, but I never really had a job back in England that necessitated the constant usage of the word presentation or presentation. So I never really said it that often, I don't think, in the workplace, but it's sort of an everyday occurrence where I work now because I have the presentation or the presentation of webinars, and I tend to go
my God. Yo, this is actually tripping me up, bro. But yeah, this is weirding me out because I've never heard of these American pronunciations said before. So like the presentation instead of presentation.
American pronunciation.
Yeah, it's tripping me
all
out.
My colleagues are doing it. Another everyday word that it was pointed out to me I pronounce in the sort of more traditionally American way, and this is quite a subtle difference, is the word insurance. I put the emphasis on the in instead of saying insurance, which is what I would have used to have done back in...
Insurance. 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 Okay.
In England, but here's the thing, you know, I've grown up in America more or less. My adult years have been spent here for the most part. I mean, I was, you know, 26 when I moved here, but still in those early sort of 20s, you're still figuring things out, and insurance is not necessarily a word that is a big part of your vernacular, I suppose. And so I think that moving to America, that word became more of a constant thing.
Really quickly.
I learned the American pronunciation of it, or rather I adopted the American pronunciation of it. It's not that I never use the word insurance, but I barely...
Yo, after 10 years, bro, I would actually expect him to come on the camera and be like, howdy, y'all. So today, I have a brand new video. That's my amazing American accent, don't judge me.
Used it compared to now, because I have things like health insurance and previously auto insurance and things of that nature. So that's one of those where, you know, I've adopted the American pronunciation just because there's been a massive increase in the number of times that I use that word here. There's another word that fits that bill, and that word is YouTube. I tend to go back and forth on this one. It could be YouTube if I am sort of thinking about it, or YouTube if I'm just speaking quickly. Of course, it's more of an American tendency to say tube or Tuesday or things of that nature. Whereas back in...
Oh, like you actually say tube? Like YouTube? Not YouTube? Oh my God, bro, this is, yeah, the difference is like, bro, it's confusing me now.
England, we would say YouTube. But of course, my YouTube career, as it were, took off while I lived in the United States.
Wait, that don't even make sense. Wait, do Americans say YouTube? Yeah, T-U-B-E is tube. Why do we say YouTube? That's C-H-U-B-E. Tube. It's not a tube. It's a tube. Why do we say that?
The connection with YouTube that I have now. I just said YouTube there, so I was obviously paying more attention to it. But, you know, something I've learned, I think, about language acquisition and acquiring these sort of American English tendencies is it often comes down to necessity or repetition. Right. And speaking of YouTube and speaking of just the workplace in general, a lot of the time that requires, of course, to create your own schedule. And notice there I said schedule. And not schedule. This is something that a lot of you have pointed out over the years of doing these distant words videos. It's a word that comes up quite often. And the truth is, I don't really remember ever pronouncing it schedule.
Thank you, bro, because I seen this in another video, right? I watched a video where it was comparing British to American words, and the girl in the video was like, in the UK, we say schedule. What on earth is schedule? I've never heard anyone said schedule, bro. That's like a shed going to the hull, right? There's no shed, bro, in schedule. That I mean, it's schedule, bro. I've never heard anyone in the UK say schedule. I don't even know, bro. Yo, if you're from the UK and you're saying schedule, I don't even know. Bro. It sounds so weird.
I know that there is a British tendency toward doing so, although you will also find instances of schedule back in the UK. I think the thing is, a lot of us aren't sort of aware what the British tendency is, or we're not sort of aware that there's any kind of pronunciation rule there. You'll find British people that certainly pronounce it the American way. So I wanted to just address that.
Bro, in no American way, it's the way, bro. It's schedule. There's no way. No. I don't believe anyone saying schedule. That don't mean that. Nah, they can't be. Bro, that sounds weird. Schedule. Sounds like you're just butchering up the word.
Because people have often mentioned that I pronounce it schedule. And again, I think I always have, unless I can find an old video that proves me wrong on that. But one word's pronunciation that I certainly have amended since I moved here, and it's a weird one. It's not one that you would think of. It's the number 4. So I worked in a call center when I first moved to the United States, and you're often reading back numbers to the customers that are calling through. And it quickly became evident to me that a lot of times when just hearing it on the phone, people didn't understand the word 4 if you're not putting an R in there. Obviously, largely speaking, there's an American tendency to roticize the word for and put that R on the end. And so over time, I found myself inserting...
Wait, does this sound like different to you lot? So I'll say it the UK way, 4, right? And now I'm going to say it with the R, 4. Oh my God. Yeah, the difference, bro. Boom.
R into that word and other words as well. Water is another good example. Sort of change that pronunciation on a context-dependent basis, because water is, weirdly enough, one of those words that often stumps waiters in restaurants if I pronounce it the British way.
What, can I get a water?
Because they're so used, obviously, to hearing water. And the thing about water and water is there's a lot of sort of sound differences in there. So firstly, you've got the first vowel sound is slightly different, and then the second consonant sound.
Why don't you say it his way or the American way? So what way am I saying it, bro? Water. I'm saying the non-T way.
And Americans have the tendency to substitute the T sound for a
water.
D sound, whereas we would be less likely to do that. We might even drop the sound altogether as a glottal stop.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that final consonant sound, the rhotic versus non-rhotic pronunciation. So it's one of those words that's so short, but it has 3 sort of differences. Generally speaking, obviously there are varieties across both America and England as to how to pronounce that word. But it's one of those that I've had to amend when I go into restaurants, because you get that blank look from the waiter until you find yourself having to spell out the word, and that's not good for anybody. But speaking...
Wait, you're telling me if I went to a restaurant in America, they would understand me saying, "Can I have some water?" What would they think I'm saying? Water.
Of spelling out the word, that brings us on to spellings.
Okay, I struggle to spell it is, never mind, looking at it different ways.
Now, I think, unlike anything else on this list, spellings are certainly context dependent. So if I'm typing to people back in England, then I think subconsciously I continue to use sort of my my British English varieties of spelling. But again, I think in the workplace, I think while doing sort of freelance work for American publications, things of that nature, sometimes when I'm even typing to some of you in the comments below, if I happen to know that you are American, I think subconsciously I go American. Certainly in the workplace,
cool.
I purposely go American English. It's something that I consciously do, and there are certain
like
words that come up in the workplace quite often. So I might be typing to a colleague about the kind of font we want to use and the color of that font. So I would spell color, C-O-L-O-R, and drop the U. I might tell them to center align the heading, so I'll spell center the American way. And it's not that, you know,
is center the American way like C-E-N-T-R-E?
Use thinking, oh, they won't understand me if I put R-E. It's not really that. It's more to show that you are cognizant of those differences and to professionally apply those differences to
wait, which way is the English way? Do we spell it E-R? And you guys spell it R-E? Or do we spell it R-E? You guys spell it. I don't even know. I actually don't even know.
Assimilate,
is that
basically,
bad?
so that nobody really questions it. And especially as someone who's a writer in the workplace, you want to be able to show yourself to understand language differences and write to a particular audience. So that's something that happens. And, you know, in the workplace, you have words like incentivize and all manner of different words that have that I-Z-E ending. Notice I still say Z, so there is that. But that I-Z-E ending, I've more or less universally adopted that way of spelling. I don't think it really matters who I'm typing to now. But certainly in the workplace, there's a lot of those kind of words that come up because words ending in I's tend to sort of fit corporate speak and all of that. So, you know, I type a lot of those and I definitely go with I-Z-E. But a little word on that. I think when I lived in Britain, I was never really sure of British English's rule, whether it was I-S-E or I-Z-E. So I think
bro, I'm the same. That's why I do the start of the word, and then my spell check will do the rest. It would just put the rest of the word in for me. It's great, man.
Went back and forth between them all the time when I lived in Britain. But since moving to the US, it's more or less always now that I will use the Z in words like that. And another thing to just mention, I think while I was researching for this video, you know, it came to my attention, or rather I was reminded of the fact that words that end in I-Z-E versus I-S-E, they constitute the vast majority of spelling differences between British and American English. There's absolutely a ton of them. Because there are just so many words, of course, that have that ending to them. You know, some of the technical writing that I do in my everyday job involves healthcare. A lot of the sort of British English spellings of certain medical terminology retain some of those old Latin influences. So you've got words like esophagus that begin O-E, as in...
Bro, how would you even know how to spell that? Esophagus. Should I try spelling it now? Esophagus. You guys are going to judge me here. O-S. No. Esophagus. A-O-S. O-P-H. Esoph. O-G-U-S. Esophagus. Yo, I don't even want to look at the actual spelling. I don't even want to have a look at the actual spelling. I'm hoping I got it right, bro. I'm pretty 99% sure I did get it right.
In kind of like Phoenix, right? Whereas in American English, predominantly anyway, those usages have been dropped. Words like esophagus are spelled just with an E at the beginning, E-S. And one word in particular...
Wait, you spell esophagus with an E at the beginning? Oh, I got it proper. I didn't get the first letter right. Yo, listen, I'm dyslexic, bro. I actually am. So I get the pass, bro. I get the pass. That
I happen to deal with on a fairly routine basis at work is pediatric. And that's a word that in British English we would spell P-A-E-D at the beginning instead of just P-E-D.
I wouldn't even know.
But again, it's a word that I didn't really use all that often back in England. I had no cause to. And the only reason I do now is, as I say, it comes up in sort of the technical writing that I do at work quite often. So,
yo, what does he write for? The dictionary? Pediatric? What does that even mean? What does he do for work? Dictionary, right? I don't even know.
I've just learned really a new spelling, and this is a spelling that I use quite widely now, along with certain other health words. So that's a word that I happen to have learned the American way, and along with a lot of other medical terminology. And I dare say that, you know, if ever I were to move back to the United Kingdom, it would take a long time to break those spellings, if indeed I ever did break them. I mean, there could be professional reasons as to why I'd have to. But yeah, I mean, that's the adoption that I've gone with.
Interesting. The dates. The dates
okay,
are
easy
and finally
to switch,
a word
though. On dates, and specifically how you order the date when you write it.
Like, I've literally learned and picked up easily how to read and write the dates because you guys have sent me stuff in my PO box, and yeah, I nearly ate and thrown away date, like food that wasn't out of date or was out of date, because I was like, yo, this day is like tripping, bro. So now I just read it easily now. Boom.
Is it day, month, and then year, or month, day, and then year? Well, obviously, growing up in England, it was always the day first, then the month, then the year. In fact, one of the nerdiest facts about me is that when I lived in England, my date of birth, 18th of the 11th, 81, is a numeric palindrome, same forward as backwards. I always loved that fact, and then I had to relinquish it
cool.
When I moved to the United States. But the truth of the matter is, it took me a long time to get used to writing the date the right way. All your life, you've written it the way that I just alluded to, and then you suddenly have to change the way your brain thinks about that. And it took a long time. I think in the last year, I finally gotten used to the American way of doing things. And
it took 9 years. Yo, what was it like? Proper like implanted in your head that much? To be fair, I don't really write the date that much. Like, I just read the date. I don't really write it. So, like, yeah, he's got a job where he's writing the date all the time, so it might be a bit different. But I can't remember the last time I actually wrote a date. So it'll probably be easy for me to like pick up.
And so now it's quite instinctive for me to write it month first, then day, then year. To the point that recently, when applying for a new British passport, I had to fill out all the details, and it asked me for the date that was on my previous passport. I had to type that in, and I just kept getting it wrong. It couldn't accept the 17th as a month of the year for obvious reasons. There aren't 17 months, right? And I kept realizing, oh no, it's the other way around, you fool. So that was tricky. I think it's forever going to be a battle. I mean, again, if I move back to Britain, I then have to undo what I've learned in America. So small problem to have, I suppose, but it is just one of those interesting things that I've noticed, because like I said, I've talked about this before in articles and here on YouTube, that I think back in the day, even just 2 years ago, I was still having problems committing that order to memory.
Wow.
And so I'm finally there, and we can all enjoy the fact that as I'm filming this, because it was yesterday, it is the 2nd of the 2nd, 2019, or is it the 2nd of the 2nd? I think I got it the wrong way around. Thank you for watching. Bye.
That was interesting. I ain't gonna lie, I'm confused even if I talk, write, American, British. I don't even know at this point, but yeah, great video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you leave a thumbs up, subscribe for more content. I'm live every single day on twitch.tv/L3WG. If you guys want to check me out over there, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.